For years, Croatia was the Adriatic jewel everyone wanted to visit. Crystal clear coastlines, medieval cities frozen in time, a culture that seamlessly blended Mediterranean charm with Central European sophistication. After joining the European Union in 2013 and adopting the euro in 2023, it seemed like Croatia had finally arrived. But beneath the postcard-perfect surface, warning signs are flashing red. The population is shrinking at an alarming rate. Skilled workers are fleeing to Germany and Austria, and an entire economy is betting everything on 3 months of summer tourism. Today, we're uncovering why this Adriatic paradise is teetering on the edge of economic crisis. Croatia's economy looks impressive on paper. Growth rates consistently outpace many EU members, but here's what the numbers don't tell you. Nearly a quarter of the entire economy depends on tourism. That's not diversification, that's dependency. Every summer, Croatia transforms into a giant hotel. Over 16 million tourists flood into a country of just 3.9 million people. The math is staggering. 4 tourists for every Croatian. Tourism brings in around $16 billion annually, accounting for 25% of GDP. In the coastal regions of Dalmatia and Istria, that figure jumps even higher. But this golden goose has a dark side. The tourism model is brutally seasonal, concentrated in just 3 months. Hotels, restaurants, and shops make their entire year's income between June and August. Come October, many simply close their doors. For 9 months, coastal towns turn into ghost communities. This creates a workforce that's either scrambling for seasonal employment or leaving the country entirely for stable jobs elsewhere. Even more concerning, Croatia's tourism is now facing a competitiveness crisis. Prices have exploded by 50% in just 3 years, far outpacing Greece, Spain, and Italy. The country has become one of the most expensive destinations in the Mediterranean without offering proportionally more value. Even Croatia's prime minister warned that prices are getting out of control. When tourists start choosing Greece or Portugal instead, because they offer better value, Croatia's entire economic foundation begins to crack. Here's the brutal reality. When you build an economy around summer holidays, you're building a house on sand. One bad tourism season, one economic downturn in Germany, one viral disease outbreak, and the whole structure trembles. Croatia learned this the hard way during the pandemic when tourism revenues collapsed overnight. But Croatia's problems run far deeper than tourism dependency. The country is hemorrhaging its most valuable resource, its people. Since joining the EU in 2013, Croatia has lost roughly 400,000 citizens. That's 10% of the entire population in just over a decade. The country is now down to 3.87 million people and shrinking every year. But it's not just the numbers that matter, it's who's leaving. Croatia ranks among the worst countries in the world for brain drain. On a scale measuring whether talented people stay or leave, Croatia scored just 1.88 out of 7. That puts it in the company of Bosnia and Herzegovina and North Macedonia as countries bleeding skilled workers at catastrophic rates. The pattern is devastatingly clear. Medical students survey after survey showing that over 40% plan to leave after graduation. Engineering graduates heading to Germany, where salaries are double or triple what they'd earn at home. IT professionals relocating to Vienna or Munich, where career prospects are exponentially better. Every week, Croatia loses doctors, engineers, researchers, and entrepreneurs who represent years of educational investment and decades of lost economic potential. And the exodus accelerated dramatically after EU accession. When borders opened, 80,000 people left in a single year. The unemployment rate dropped, but not because more people found jobs. It dropped because the unemployed simply packed up and moved to countries with opportunities. Eastern Croatia has been hit hardest. Once thriving industrial towns are now hollowed out. Schools closed due to lack of students. Hospitals can't find doctors to staff emergency rooms. Small businesses shut down because there aren't enough young people to hire. The median age keeps climbing, currently sitting at 45.3 years, making Croatia one of the oldest populations in Europe. And here's what makes this crisis particularly painful. Croatia invests heavily in educating its young people, only to watch them contribute to Germany's economy instead. It's a reverse development model. The country spends on education, healthcare, and infrastructure for children, then loses all that investment the moment they turn 25 and head abroad. While Croatia's people leave, those remaining face a productivity crisis strangling economic growth. Croatia invests just 1.4% of GDP in research and development. nearly half the OECD average of 2.7%. This isn't a minor gap, it's a structural deficiency compounding over decades. When innovation spending is halved, predictable consequences follow. High-tech industries never emerge, universities struggle commercializing research, and startups lack funding to scale. The economy stagnates, producing lower-value goods while competitors advance. Labor productivity tells the story. From 2012 to 2022, Croatia's productivity grew barely 0.5% annually, 3 times below the OECD average. Croatian workers generate less value per hour than European counterparts, meaning lower wages, reduced tax revenue, and diminishing competitiveness. Croatia ranks 50th globally on the Economic Complexity Index, measuring export sophistication. This means exporting simpler, less processed goods, leaving the economy exposed to price volatility and economic shocks. Higher-ranked countries have diverse, advanced industries cushioning downturns. A luxury Croatia lacks. Competitiveness challenges abound. Over 84% of Croatian exporters struggle with differing EU regulations, above the European average. Digital adoption lags, energy costs remain elevated, and red tape weighs down business. The labor shortage intensifies as skilled workers departed for Austria or Germany years ago. Companies compensate by importing workers. Nearly 200,000 foreign workers now registered. By 2030, estimates suggest 1 in 4 workers could be foreign-born, a dramatic shift bringing new social and economic challenges. The productivity trap tightens daily, with no easy escape. Underpinning all of these crises is a demographic catastrophe unfolding in slow motion. Croatia's median age is 45.3 years and climbing. The population pyramid doesn't look like a pyramid anymore. It looks like a mushroom, with a narrow base of young people supporting an increasingly heavy top of retirees. The birth rate has collapsed to 1.4 children per woman, far below the 2.1 needed for replacement. Meanwhile, life expectancy keeps rising, meaning more people living longer in retirement. The math is merciless. Fewer workers supporting more retirees means pension systems come under immense strain. Healthcare costs surge as the population ages and requires more intensive medical care. The government faces an impossible balancing act, raising taxes on a shrinking workforce or cutting benefits to a growing number of retirees. By 2030, the dependency ratio will worsen significantly. Every Croatian worker will effectively be supporting more dependents, elderly parents, and grandparents who require pensions and healthcare. The pressure on public finances will become crushing, and the problem feeds on itself. Young Croatians look at this future, high taxes to support an aging population, limited job opportunities, stagnant wages, and decide their best option is to leave, which shrinks the workforce further, which increases the burden on those who remain, which causes more to leave. It's a vicious cycle with no easy exit. As if these challenges weren't enough, Croatia faces a massive infrastructure gap that threatens to choke future growth. Estimates place Croatia's infrastructure deficit somewhere between $200 and $400 billion. Roads need upgrading. Public transport systems are outdated. Water infrastructure in some regions dates back decades. Schools and hospitals require modernization. Digital infrastructure lags behind European standards. Every year this investment is delayed, the eventual bill grows larger. Crumbling infrastructure doesn't just cost money to fix. It drags down productivity, discourages investment, and makes the country less attractive to the businesses and people Croatia desperately needs to retain. Much of Croatia's recent infrastructure improvement has been funded by EU structural funds. But as the country develops, access to these funds will diminish. Croatia will need to finance its own infrastructure, just as demographic pressures make raising revenue more difficult. Croatia faces daunting but not insurmountable challenges. The country must restructure its economy away from tourism dependence toward higher value industries, increasing R&D spending from 1.4% to 3% of GDP. It needs innovation hubs and startup ecosystems that give young talent reasons to stay, plus simplified business regulations. Slowing brain drain requires comprehensive reforms beyond higher wages. Croatia must offer career advancement, modern work environments, and cultural vitality that makes staying a choice, not a sacrifice. The demographic crisis demands radical solutions, affordable family policies, immigration reforms welcoming skilled workers, and regional development revitalizing rural areas. Yet here's the harsh reality. Implementing these solutions requires the very people Croatia is losing. The doctors who could reform healthcare are in Munich, the engineers in Vienna, the entrepreneurs in Berlin. Croatia stands at a crossroads. One path leads to becoming Europe's retirement community with empty schools and foreign workers. The other requires painful reforms, massive investment, and a generation willing to fight for their country's future. The question isn't whether Croatia can change, it's whether it will change before the window closes. Every week, another plane carries Croatia's best north, taking the country's future with them. Will Croatia reinvent itself or become a cautionary tale? The clock is ticking and time is running out.